Hey everybody, we're going to be covering 5 Diablo 4 tips to help you get ready to crush the pit. This is going to be a checklist rundown, so we will work from probably the more simple thing to the more advanced as we go along. Make sure that you guys have a complete list of things you want to have in place. Whether you're struggling with the pit or you're just starting for the first time, this will help you do your absolute best and start pushing heavy into endgame. The first thing that we want to look at here is going to be max level, and that isn't just maxing out your character level. So it's not just making sure that you're level 100. It's also going to be leveling up those glyphs. So you want to make sure that you actually have gone through 15 the minimum, but you do want to push that 21 if you can. It's worth it, especially if you start leveling the nightmare or the glyphs around 75, level 75 of your character level, and you keep pushing. You should be able to get those 21 before you hit level 100, and that's a pretty optimal way to do that. Now, there is one other thing that we want to level this season that is different than we have before, is our Codex of Power. Because now when we get anything that we haven't had before and we break that down and it's a better roll of the aspect that we already have, it updates in the Codex of Power, having as many of your things be at max roll as possible. Now, it's not always. Sometimes the drops are just kind of annoying. You've gone through, you've already leveled all your glyphs, you've done everything, and there's 2 or 3 that are still not full level. But just know that is still a major focus if you can. If you need to run Hell Tides more, hit all the gear that you get from the Maiden, just running those over and over again to have a better chance at aspects, or doing the gambling. Try to get those as high a level as you can before you start. All of this will help you be at a base level of power that is absolutely incredible. So now I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably done those and knew to do those from the beginning. At the end, I also do want to give you something that if you are struggling with all of these, you've done the checklist, and you're still struggling with the pit, there's something really cool that's available to us this season that hasn't been, that you guys can jump on and really push to the next level of the pit with what you've already built up, whatever class you've already started with. Now, the next piece is going to be getting your gear ready. So let's go through what that's going to look like. The first thing, and it should be obvious, the aspects that you're getting, everything has an aspect. And they're aspects that really do help your build or what you would ideally want. Now, I know that's not always perfect, and in Pit, we are going to start to push over to more defensive stuff, often because that's where you usually are getting clipped. When you start getting one-shotted by the boss is usually where most people are having trouble continuing to push and get enough materials to keep their masterworking going. So as we go through these, just make sure these are solid. At least, most of them are ones you're pretty sure of, or you're clear on which ones you're testing. Again, because the Codex of Power is so simple to use this season, switching out one for another can be very easy to try and test and tweak your builds as you go. But having as many of these, if not all of them, be actually beneficial to the build is really solid. Now, this one, there's a bit of a range on if you should have 925s or not. Like if you have an 888 that has like greater fixes and everything, that should be fine. I generally start aiming for 925 more for just decision fatigue. It's a lot easier to see, are these 925? If they're not, I'm not even gonna look at them. And then I'm also looking for those little stars here for the greater fixes. As much of your gear as you can, get to the greater fixes. Again, the best place is to get gear to drop a lot is gonna be with the Maiden. So go run the Maiden a ton and keep trying to fill these slots with actual greater fixes that you want and you're looking for your build. Now, the other thing we have this season that is making our build so much more powerful than they've ever been is the tempering. So when you have an opportunity, if you look at these pieces, you really want to think about your build, what attacks you're using, what core skills you're using, what's going to have the biggest impact on your build. And so as you start ramping these up, I'm doing a lot of high life because that's what's needed for a lot of the push for the minion build. I'm looking for that corpse tendril size. And so as you go through and see what's available to you for each of your pieces, just see if there's something that actually is making your build almost crazy. Like in the other build that I'm playing right now, I'm playing a rogue. I am doing the hungering shot build. And so having the hungering shot possibly shoot off an extra arrow is something I can look and get as many pieces or on as many pieces as I can to make my build absolutely crazy. So make sure that you are fully tempered. You're going to need to, because if you're not you don't have your 2 tempereds on an ancestor, you can't do the masterworking. So basically make sure these are all ready so that you can also be going through the pit and masterworking as you go. Now, you do want to make sure that these are masterworking worthy. And that's why I do like the 925 tempered with things that you want. Sometimes people are getting an almost perfect item, they have a greater fix on it, and then they're getting bad rolls on the temper. you still want to make sure before you put a lot of like resources from Masterworking into that piece, that maybe you do all the other ones that are already good before you do that. That might allow you to keep pushing, but you know you're going to need to replace that. So just think about that as you're going. Now that we have that, we have our gear ready, we are leveled, we are maxed with our glyphs, we have great aspects. We have basically the base of our build that allows us to start crushing and getting into the pit. Now you do want to make sure that you are always using elixirs, incense as much as you can, especially in the push. Early on, you may be fine. If you've done all this, you're probably going to push through the first 20, 30 levels of the pit pretty easily. When you start finding that challenge, then start picking items and potions or elixirs and incense that are really going to help push it further. Whatever you're struggling with, kind of move through those and keep them going. So potions that I really do recommend early on when you're just kind of pushing through the easy levels, the early levels of the pit, I do recommend Holy Bolts. Now, Holy Bolts is pretty awesome for clearing early, but eventually you're probably going to want to give it up to add some defensive abilities. So you may be looking for things that have additional armor or things that may, or maybe you're probably killing the bosses at the end, and you're going to start looking for things that maybe stack on vulnerable damage if you're targeting that, or overpower, whatever the targets are. Just think about the potions based on what is going on in your build. And the exact same thing with the incense. I do recommend that most people are having issues getting one shot in the bosses. And so you're going to want to just look for things that are going to add armor or protection for you first. But I have noticed that sometimes, it's that great offense is a great defense. For some builds, that has definitely been the case. So just know, whatever works for your build, test a bunch. They're a lot easier to produce and create. If you are running out of the materials to make potions, Tria's Whispers drops a decent amount, and also doing the Legion events. So those are great things to target to get the materials, other than just picking up all the stuff on the side when you're roaming around in the open world. So now we're doing pretty solid. We have your potions ready. You're almost ready to pop those, jump in the pit, and just start crushing. Next, you want to make sure that you actually have capped the right stats. There's certain stats you have to cap. It is absolutely crucial. You will not go very far in the pit. There's some cases, always there is some extreme cases of this, but for the most part, doing these two things is going to make sure that your build is very solid and you're taking as little damage as possible. And damage reduction is rare this season, so just know that. It was dropping on every piece before. It doesn't anymore. So when you are looking for that, the armor level has also dropped. So if you look at it, as I float over this, it reduces the damage taken from enemies equal level or of equal level by 85%. So if I have this max, 85 is actually the max I can get. But it tells you right there, the 90 to 30 is armor is required for maximum reduction level against 100 enemies and beyond. So this is your armor cap. That means if you get to 9,230, you are max. You have 85%. That's all you're going to get. If you had 15,000 here, it wouldn't do everything over 9,230 would not matter to your build. Now, the other thing we want to cap, if it's not obvious, we want to hit these resistances. I know sometimes it's just like you have your build's almost set and there's like one that's a little low. That's fine. But as you start pushing heavy, even getting potions that will push the speed on these levels becomes more and more essential. This is where usually people are getting clipped. They're just taking too much damage. They're getting one shot. They can't survive. And so they're getting wiped out. Their timer's going up like crazy, or just can't clear the boss at the end. Make sure that your stuff is capped. Now, the other thing, and this is kind of something to do during the runs, and I've loosely mentioned it, but as you're going through the runs, if you want to have the best chance to keep pushing and pushing, you do want to make sure that you are coming here and masterworking. So when we're looking at these, this is the first level of masterworking represented by these little circles. The second level is these triangles. And I've just had the 2 levels right now. I haven't pushed to the 3rd level. It gets costly, very expensive, both in gold and in the materials needed. But my focus when I do this is I'm taking one item at a time and I'm pushing it to the first 4. So if you notice, a lot of these have all 4 circles on it. And that's because the affix all the affix are affected by 5% by this dot, and this dot. And then 1 gets a big boost of 20% when this one hits. So I want that big jump. Hopefully it's on something that has a major impact on my build and allows me to push further and further in the pit. So that is going to be my focus. But make sure that between rounds that you are ready to start doing this, that you have maybe a decent amount of gold in place, that you've done enough to like build up maybe 20, 30 million, doing other things so that you aren't like being stalled because you only have 2 million and you already spent it. So just know that it is gold hungry like crazy, but you do want to focus on this to keep moving your push. So then I did also promise you guys something that even if all these don't work, even if you've gone through this, you've checked everything, your build's on point, you've done all your glyphs, you've done everything, you're geared, you're ready, you're thinking about it, you got the right potions, and you're starting to push, and you're still struggling in a way where it's no longer enjoyable, there is a unique opportunity we have this season, and that is simply playing the Necro. No, just kidding. The thing that we can do this season, we haven't been able to do before, is that we can actually switch our build. So you've leveled up this class, you have all the perks of being level 100, all those points for the Paragon board. It's a lot easier now because of the way they set up the Codex of Power. Rolling at that best roll you've ever broken down allows you to quickly switch between builds in a way we've never been able to. And so I would highly recommend that if you're struggling with one build, check out some of the other builds, see what other people are saying about it. Find something that might be more fun for you and really pit worthy, like as far as pushing through, or just more enjoyable for the gameplay you'd like to do on, when you're playing Diablo. But I think it's really exciting that we can do that for the first time. Now, if you guys love this video, make sure you catch this video here, where these are my absolute favorite OP endgame tips. These are things that are going to help you just be more powerful in endgame across the board and really enjoy your playthrough.